And we're live.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate your help on that. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we are working with one of our board members on some audio, so bear with us just a minute and we'll see if we can get this program up and running. So hang tight just a second, and we're waiting for a thumbs up from Nasser there in regard to some technical changes. So hang tight 1 minute. We'll see if we can get this program. Nasser, are you good to go?
Dave is going to go ahead and try calling in on all the info I sent on the bottom for the chat. If he is not successful, he has given the indication for me to call him back, and then we'll just have him on speakerphone.
Okay. And after discussing with legal counsel, there is a nod and a thumbs up that may be acceptable for this process. So we'll continue with moving forward. So we would like to reconvene our regular meeting of the Village of Clemens Planning Board for January 19th, 2021. Before we jump into item 5 of that agenda, which was business in regards to the public hearing, I'll ask Mr. Rahimzadeh if he's got any updated information that he would like to share.
Yes, I do. I will. I'll go ahead and throw it on the screen too, if you're okay with that.
Yes,
no,
please.
It might be a little harder to actually see Dave on that for now, so I'll hold off on doing that for now. But it'll be a part of the minutes and part of the exhibits when we approve. Next meeting when it's approval. I received correspondence from a Dennis. I think it's pronounced Pate, or it is. He lives at 6031 Arden Drive. His message is, I'm totally opposed to changing the zoning on Arden Drive and Clouds Harbor Trail to allow for high density housing. No one on Arden Drive will benefit. The road is too narrow to handle all the additional traffic. Arden Drive is a safe and pleasant road for families to walk. Too many new houses will add too much additional traffic. More spending, USP, Amazon, pizza delivery drivers, etc. Exclamation point. It is a bad idea, exclamation point. I would like to meet with the developers and Clemens officials in person to state my displeasure and really concerns. Yeah. So that is the current situation on that. And then the second one is from the Miss Katie Kelly. My name is Katie Callie, and I'm writing to register my concerns and to object to the rezoning of the Clouds Harbor Landing Development C-238. I grew up at 5925 Arden Drive and recently inherited the property from my mother passing away. I'm concerned about the additional traffic this rezoning would mean for Arden Drive, especially given there is a curve in the street where there is very low visibility that would be even more dangerous with all this additional traffic. Putting so much additional traffic on the street, even with the planned turn lanes on Hampton, greatly concerns me given the size and density of this development. A parcel of this size could be developed with lovely single-family homes with greater acreage than this planned zoning that would more closely match the feel of the neighborhood and have a much smaller impact on traffic and the lives of the other residents. I grew up on this street and plan on raising my children here as well. I'm concerned for the quality of life for residents on Arden Drive and safety as they drive and walk on the street. As I am sure you are aware, it is an older neighborhood and many of the residents may not be familiar with Zoom calls or virtual meetings. I believe there would be additional objections if more people were aware. I never received the mailer mentioned in the meeting. I only learned of it through the zoning sign, which for many residents is so far down the street, they would not have even driven past it. Thank you for accepting my comments. I hope you will take them under consideration. Katie. Okay. I believe we have everybody in here. Give us 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and just admit the Ken Capron and Vince Townsend. Dave, can you still hear us? Are you good?
Good, yeah.
Okay.
So nothing to add other than those 2 points, Nazar.
No, I will say that I did follow up with Ms. Kaylee and told her about the notification process, and that most likely council will have a certainly in-person meeting. And I provided her information on that. And then Mr. Pate, I also had a chance to speak with him as well. I will say I did also receive a call within that 24-hour period from Mr. Weed living at 6100 Arden. I asked him to also email me with that so that I don't put any words in his mouth, but he had some concerns as well. His 3 concerns were that he measured a portion of Arden Drive and he claimed that it's actually closer to 16 feet, so that the road is not very supportive of traffic and certainly is being used as a main thoroughfare. And that his recommendation is the using of Idols Road as a connection to Clouds Harbor Trail. Regarding that aspect, I did tell him that that would go through a private residence, private property that is an actual private street. So this developer couldn't necessarily really do that given the fact that they don't own that parcel to connect to Idols. So those were the 3 citizen complaints or concerns I got that voiced objection to the development within the 24-hour period when the planning board adjourned.
And just to clarify to everyone, we post the sign out in the neighborhoods or at the end of the street. We do the mailings within the neighborhood, and that comes from the village of Clemens and also the Clemens Courier, correct?
Correct. I think something to note is that we do it to adjacent property owners, so it might not necessarily reach all the property owners in the front end of Arden. And that's the way that the ordinance is written in terms of notifications, but we do run two notices in the Clemens Courier as well. And they were 2 Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 Thursdays back to back.
And I think the petitioner, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I think the petitioner also did some communication with the neighbors as well. That's correct, Vince. Okay, Mr. Townsend, thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll go ahead and step into the business that we discussed on January 19th, 2021. I appreciate everybody's attendance and I apologize for my absence. At this point, that was item A for public hearing of zoning map amendment for Clouds Harbor Landing, petition by Wayne E. Weber Revocable Trust for properties, parcel ID number 5892-68-5524 and parcel ID number 5892-68-2241, consisting of 8.42 acres plus minus, currently zoned RS15 to RS9 residential single family, for the boundary survey of Weber parcel as shown on the site plan located in the Village of Clemens Planning Department, zoning docket C-238. Mr. Rahimzadeh, I'm going to ask if there's going to be any updates to that information that was shared with everyone on Tuesday night on your part.
No updates to the mapping, to the map amendment portion. When we get to the analysis of the subdivision, I will provide the updates on the correct conditions that were stipulated for the major subdivision.
Thank you. At this time, would the petitioner like to add anything to Tuesday night's meeting comments? Mr. Capron, Mr. Townsend.
Yes, good afternoon. So I just wanted to, I did get an email.
Mr. Capron, can I get you to state your name and address for us for the record, please? Sorry about that.
Yes, Ken Capron, 1758 Pecan Manor Lane, Louisville, North Carolina.
Thank you.
So one of the petitioners did email me as well as you, and I did have a conversation with him. Very civil conversation. He shared his concerns, and he also shared that he believes in property rights and he understands that we can agree to disagree, but he just wanted to share his concerns with me.
Thank you, Mr. Capron. Mr. Townsend, would you like to add anything? Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll ask if there's any questions to the board for petitioner or Nazar in regards to the zoning map and or the site plan.
I guess I do have one question that I probably should have asked on Thursday or on the normal meeting, but going from an RS-15 to an RS-9, what do you guys estimate is the difference in the number of homes or units that would get put in here? I can't imagine it's a huge difference. But just, I mean, it's zoned for RS-15, so we're going to build houses there. Going to an RS-9 clearly is what I think citizens are sort of concerned about, because we're putting more homes in. But realistically, how many more homes is it? Did you guys look at that?
Right. I would. Oh, go ahead. Who's going to speak?
So if I could share on that just for a minute. So the investment on the Weber Trust property was close to as much as it was on the Parker property. Parker property is already zoned RS9. 70 out of the 88 homes is already zoned RS9. So it's 25% of the acreage, less than 25%. And we left 2.5 acres with the existing Weber home and the pool house, so it still had that feel around it. To answer your question directly, there'd be 4 or 5 less lots.
Okay.
But the way it lays out, it just doesn't lay out anywhere near as well, and it crowds the house. So we felt like it was real important. It's a large home. We wanted to keep the country feel on the home itself because the home's going to stay. So,
Right.
So if you really look at the site plan and see how we try to save everything, that's the reason the lots got a little the same size. If we could have kept them the other side and kept the feel on the home the same, we wouldn't have had to go through this rezoning side. It would have been a lot simpler. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Tom, or you want?
It does. I think the point that I'm trying to make is that, you know, for people that are upset or think that this is going to create so much more traffic, I mean, the reality is it's 4 more homes, 4 more residences. It's not like we're adding 100 more homes to rezone it from a 15 to a RS9. So I'm sort of just trying to, you know, wrap my head around the delta is not, it's marginal. It's a marginal extra amount of traffic that would be in there. That's my only point.
Yeah, the 8 acres of the rezoning is out of the 39 acres as a whole will be rezoned to RS9, as the remaining 31 acres is already currently zoned RS9. So,
right,
correct. Yes.
And now, so real quick, Ramey Kemp didn't add anything additional other to their TIS.
What we decided to do on this route, because we knew that it was going to automatically hit the trip generation rate for turn lanes for NCDOT, I told the developer not even to bother with traffic impact analysis and to just put in the turn lanes for NCDOT standards, because we had known from the approval of Old Mill where it was very close, if not right there, for the turn lanes, for warranting the turn lanes. This was sure to tip it over to the point where it would certainly need the turn lanes.
And DOT's putting those roads in, not Sugar Enterprises, correct?
Sugar will be putting it in per NCDOT specifications for the turn lanes on Hampton.
Okay.
So they'll have to follow the requirements that NCDOT will specify for them.
And Mr. Capron, y'all have done that in Springfield Farms, Springfield Village. Y'all have done it at Rivergate. So, I mean, y'all are very versed in that.
Correct. We've done it in probably well over 100 communities. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any more questions from the board or to the petitioner and or to staff? Not seeing any. Mr. Capron, Mr. Townsend, thank you both for being here, and Real quick, Nazar, just back to Mr. Cowley and I'm sorry, was it Patel? Patel, I'm sorry.
I think it was Pate, P-E-A or P-A-E-T-E-E.
And the council meeting will hear this on the 1st or on the 25th?
It'll be on the 8th, actually. It'll be
Okay.
on the 8th of February.
Okay.
It'll be the first meeting for council, and council meets every second and fourth Monday.
And that'll be at 6 o'clock, same as the planning board meeting, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that one, you know, typically, I'm not going to say what council will do, but typically council has met in person even during the pandemic, majority of instances, and has rarely done any remote meetings, any complete remote meetings.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Caper, Mr. Townsend, I'll give one last chance to add anything if need be. If not, then we'll move you to the waiting room.
Well, I think we could certainly do that and then bring them back in when we get to the subdivision portion.
Yep, that'll be great.
That sounds good.
We're okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I will pop up the consistency statement if you're okay with that.
Yep, that'll be great. Any questions to the board, Nazar, or staff in regards to this, or Jeff? Not hearing any, I will entertain a motion.
Dave, do you want me to go ahead and give me one moment, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion if it would help.
And that is Tom Meckes making the motion. Tom,
Yeah,
please.
Tom Eckers, I move we adopt the consistency statement as defined here. Do I need to read that whole thing, or do you just adopt the consistency statement and approve the rezoning request for C238?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dave. You're good. So what I'll do is I'll probably pop you on.
That sounds sufficient for the form of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Fuss, for that. We have a motion for approval. And do I have a second, Nazar? I need you to switch screens on me if you can, please.
I second that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Majorel seconds the motion. Ms. Wilcox, how do you vote?
Approve.
Oh, y'all got the screen. Y'all messing with me here. Carolyn? Carolyn, approved. Mr. Oral?
I approve.
Thank you. Teresa?
Approve.
Also approve. Teresa approves. And I will also approve the zoning as stated by Mr. Meckes. Thank you. So we will jump to the second part of that, and that will be for the site plan.
For the subdivision, and I will go over the error and specify the corrections that were made.
Thank
If you
you.
don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and just take this screen over and go from there.
Do we want to ask the petitioner to step back in at this point?
Yeah, I've already invited them back in.
Okay.
So we're good. So going to the revisions so I could put in the correct one. The changes that were made was specifically to the language found in prior to the issuance of any permits in number B, where it says the developer shall comply with NCDOT requests for turn lanes into Arden Drive and associated NCDOT procedures. The first sketch that we had, because I put the first sketch in incorrectly, was the one that said developer shall comply with all NCDOT requests. This one is specifying that it will be turn lanes and it will be, on Hampton Road into Arden Drive, and they will still have to follow all NCDOT procedures as they work through that. And the second one was the clarification for the prior to the issuance of building permits. The developer shall be restricted to the construction of no more than 30 dwelling units until the development provides a minimum of 2 roads that comply with the North Carolina State Building Code, Fire Prevention Code Appendix on fire apparatus, access roads as understood by Forsyth County Fire Marshal and/or designees. That was pretty much it. If anybody's got any other questions on it for the clarifications, as the incorrect conditions were put up, they were the older version as opposed to the correct newer version on the original on Tuesday evening.
Okay. Can we get the regular screen back? I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, do you want to go to the, do you still want to look at the conditions?
Yes, please.
Okay. Got it.
And those conditions are outlined there in the staff report, part of that, correct? It looks
Correct,
there's
yes.
several. There's a page 2 to that, correct?
There is, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And obviously, we wouldn't need to read out all those conditions. We could just state the conditions that are listed in the staff report.
Yeah, correct. When you approve the subdivision, the conditions will, you'll approve the subdivision along with the conditions. The subdivision, if you choose to approve the subdivision, it will go along with the condition.
That secondary road into Cloud Harbor will tie into Old Mill Stratus Way, correct?
Yes.
And I guess this question is for Mr. Capron. You know, are y'all planning to put all in the curb and gutter, put the road infrastructure in along with Stratus Way prior to construction? Will that connection be made to Stratus Way during the construction process? Or will all the construction be coming down Arden Drive?
No, it'll be done simultaneously.
Okay. So will Old Mill and Cloud Harbor be under construction simultaneously?
I mean, I can't speak for Old Mill totally, but based on, I think they're going to be going simultaneously. So, but I don't know how much of the construction traffic will be on Arden, how much will be out in Haywood. I can't totally speak for all that. I'd hate to say one way and have it happen another way, Mr. Hunter. We can lead traffic, ask for traffic to go one way or another, but it's all subcontractors and it's all suppliers. It's not our employees.
Thank you. Caroline, did you get your question answered in regard to the roundabout from Tuesday night's meeting? Were you satisfied with that answer? I think Mr. Gunnell responded to that. Were you good with that?
Yes, it's a roundabout. Not sure what the term small means, but it is a roundabout, so I'm satisfied.
It'll, go ahead.
And Mr. Mazarell, I assume your stormwater question was answered to your satisfaction.
It was.
Okay.
I do have a question about the connector. Then it was not clear to me, based on the fact that now they're both, that we plan to have these two develop coming together at some point. And Nasser, you're saying then the connector is contingency of Old Mill getting developed, but we don't know exactly where it's going to be. That's a little bit a gray area for me. I know that it's going to be a connector, but it seemed like we wait for the other portion to be developed to know where the connector is gonna be. I mean, that's a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah, the way it is right now is that the Stratus way over here, this road is secondary access, secondary public access is completely contingent upon Old Mill construction. And Old Mill has divvied up the phases as it's further progressed from preliminary, as it's roughing the, it's making the lines a bit more fine on its rough sketch of the preliminary. It'll be most likely in their second phase of development. And when that goes in, then the road will connect to this road. And I'm sure when Mr. Capron, if they ever reach the phase of, if this gets approved, then it moves forward. When they reach the point of permitting, like Old Mill is, they will then have to divvy up how this is going to be developed and what phases, so that utilities has a better understanding. And that will also, tell you the timeline between when the two will hit. But you're right. Unfortunately, this site its development is very contingent upon the development of Old Mill, to make sure that it gets what we get. At the end of the day, what will happen is we'll make sure that on the planning level, when both come in for final, when Old Mill comes in for final plating, all the builds are, all the roads are built out, and the same goes for this major subdivision or any other, that when it comes for their final plat approval time before building permits are issued, that they have a lot of their infrastructure in, including road infrastructure, and that anything else that needs any bonding or surety is minuscule and minor.
So my question to you, Nasser, is can the developer hold us accountable for, on one side, for something that it was not done on the other side in the future? Saying, well, we brought it to the planning board, we went to council, it got approved, but now the other developer doesn't, it doesn't meet the requirements to do the road where we thought it was going to be. So now, we need to change our plan, and what it will be. And that's probably a question that for Mr. Faz, how the legal ramification of approving this plan as it is contingency of another owner on a piece of land that it has to be developed can affect this development in the future if it doesn't happen as they thought it would happen.
Yeah, the site plan as it is, I'll let Elliot, I'm sure, talk to the legal questions if there is, but the brief answer is for the major subdivision, it is going to, if you guys approve it, it's going to be approved as is, as this design, regardless. If there is a proposed change where they say, well, let's say the instance that Old Mill decides to go, they cannot develop and the company itself dissolves or something and the Old Mill never happens, the developer still has to build to this standard. He still has to build all these roads, and he still has to at least provide this road over here to Old Mill.
I have no reason to disagree with that.
Thank you.
Based on both site plans, Old Mill's obviously been approved, so they've got to put that piece in there, but I guess there was that little variation in their original site plan and willing to make that connectivity. So it looks like Old Mill, Martine, is making probably a concession that, to work with Shugart and Mr. Capron and his team to solidify that. I assume that would have to be a collaborative effort on both parts because it impacts both subdivisions. I guess Mr. Capron can talk a little bit more about that relationship with Mr. Eisenhower and the future plan of that a little bit, and the solidification of the confidence that we need that's going to get put in there.
Thank you. So So the developer of Old Mill and myself have over a 30-year relationship in the business. So when it came time that we got this site plan, Mr. Townsend and I got this site plan where we felt good about it. I actually called Mr. Eisenhower. We had a meeting and I showed him the site plan and asked him for comments and suggestions. And we actually worked on it and we made revisions to it. And this is totally to his satisfaction and actually to his suggestions, which we really agreed to and agreed with and worked off with the Village of Clemens on to where everybody cooperated to where we agreed it was the best way to go. So there was a lot of work put to this and thought. So we all feel very well about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Capron.
Thank you.
Nazir, can we get back to our normal screen there?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I've got a YouTube live screen. I don't have the divided Zoom screen as I would normally have. Is there a reason for that?
Now
I got it. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Okay.
At this time, is there any additional questions for the petitioner and or staff in regards to the site plan for Cloud Harbor? Seeing none, hearing none, I would ask for a motion for that with the conformity statement, please. Either everybody's in a daze or everybody's pondering real hard here. So
I'll do it again if you want me to. This is
yeah, I think Dave was trying to come in there as well. So yeah, Tom, that would be great if you would.
Sure. I make a motion that we approve the site plan and adopt the consistency statement as stated in the Village of Clemens for C-238.
Can I get you to list those conditions in that motion if you don't mind, please?
Or, well, can I just say, I don't know that I have the most recent set of conditions, but but as long as that motion is contingent upon they meet the conditions outlined by Nasser in the site plan review record.
Yep, that'll be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
If I can get a second on that.
I second that.
And Teresa seconds Mr. Meckes's motion. Ms. Wilcox, how would you vote?
I approve.
Approves. Mr. Mazarel,
I approve.
Ms. Carolyn,
Approve.
Tom made the motion, Teresa second, so it's up to me. I'll also approve the site plan for Cloud Harbor as well with the conditions, of course. So,
Okay.
Mr. Townsend, Mr. Capron, thank you for your time.
I think Dave is the last guy that needs to vote really quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Right there you are, Mr. Oral. There you go. He approves. Thank you, Dave. Apologize. We'll get you some technical help. Mr. Capron, Mr. Townsend, thank you. We look forward to the project. And just ask that you respect the Village of Clemens and the residents in it with the construction vehicles. Mr. Capron, if you could see that that's one way and one way only, that would be great. I'm sure that would appease a lot of those residents during the process, especially when there's between both projects, it's a large project. So wish you well with that, wish your team with that, and thank you guys for continuing to support the Village of Clemens. At this time, we will go ahead and close tonight's business, which was item 5 on our agenda, and we will quickly jump into a staff report if Nazir has anything. Nazir?
I have nothing to say so far about our February meeting. I did mention that I'll probably be sending some material in February for training on some topics, so you guys are aware of the changes that the legislature has made in 2019 that we will have to make sure our ordinances are compliant with in 2021. so it doesn't hit you guys all at once. It looks like the March meeting may have some last minute, as I've been in talks with a few architecture engineering firms. It looks like we might have 2 cases to see in the March. So other than that, it looks like February is going to be a very light month. You guys won't necessarily have to meet. I'll just give you guys that memo on training.
Thank you. Look forward to that. Always enjoy yours and Jeff's training. So look forward to having Ms. Drake in our training classes too. So, Relative Clemens. Any questions for staff at this point from the board? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the January 19th, 2021 meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting for January 21st.
I will second.
I've got a first and a second on that. And Dave, I'll go ahead and start with you since I skipped you last time. Good deal. Thank you, Dave, for your approval of that. Ms. Carolyn. Also approving that too. Mr. Meckes.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Majerel.
Approve.
Thank you. And I'll also approve that. Thank you guys for your time and your volunteering to the planning board, and thank staff for always giving us the details that we made to make informed decisions relative to our community. Until next time in February.